Hi, this is Joe Santerre. You're watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi everyone, John Liebman here. You're watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com. And by gosh, here we are again, my favorite place with one of my favorite people. We're on the campus of Berklee College of Music in Boston with six-string maestro virtuoso, my old friend Joe Santerre. What's happening, Joe?
Not too much, John. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. What I wanted to talk to you about, we did a couple interviews already. Yep. So if the folks want to get the information about you, and I encourage you to look that up, just put Joe Santerre in the little search thing, Santerre. The first one is text, the second one is video, and the third one will be video. But what I wanted to talk about specifically, what I'm particularly excited about, is the six-string course by Joe Santerre that is available to members of For Bass Players Only in the education section of our site. So talk to me about what's cool about six-string bass. I think there's some resistance. You hear things like, ooh, Jocko only needed 4. And, well, yeah, okay. If you only want 4, then we're not going to force you to do it, but it's available to you if you want it. Six-string, you can go lower, you can go higher, you can groove differently, you can solo. Jump in anywhere. Talk to me, first of all, about why six-string bass is so exciting to you.
Well, the 4-string, obviously, that's where it all started. The thing that attracted me to the 6-string is exactly what you just said, is having the additional range, especially the low notes. The high notes are cool, for chords and soloing, improvisation. That's great.
If you want to get fired from a gig,
Yes, that will do it. That will do it. But
unless you're the leader.
Yes, unless it's your gig. But the low notes, there's something about playing those low notes, and even other people that are in the band that aren't the bass player, because I'm in the band, will remark, I love hearing that low C on that ballad, or, it just takes the place of the left hand of the piano player. So the range obviously was the thing for me. Now, having the extra strings, the biggest thing in my mind to have to deal with relative to the 4-string is keeping all the strings quiet that you're not playing on. So that's the biggest, hurdle, I would say, in trying to play that kind of a bass. It's a different sort of, it's like the 4-string in that, you just have to spend the time doing it. And you have to sort of analyze what your hands are doing and making sure that the only note that you hear is the note you're playing. You're not playing on the G string and hearing the low B gurgling underneath. So, but the range is, I'm still excited about having the range of the 6-string bass. I don't care what you 4-string guys say.
But both lower and upper.
Yes.
So the muting thing, do you find, if you ever stop to think and analyze what you're doing with your hands, do you find the muting is more with your right hand or your left hand, or sometimes some of each, or just whatever it happens to need at the time?
I would say there's probably a little bit of both, but for me, I notice it's more on the right hand. I'm just totally guessing here. I would say 65 to 70% with the right hand and the rest with the left hand. The way I do it is I use my pinky and my third finger to mute, like, say I'm playing, up on the higher string. So I'll put my thumb on the E string, lean back on the B string. So I've got those two covered, pinky on the A string, third finger on the D string. So that way I'm set, because even if I'm playing just something on the C string, my fingers coming back, landing on the G string will keep that quiet. Other people do it differently. Some people can do it, I can do a little bit of like this, 2 or 3 strings at a time, but not the entire bass. Right. But that's how I do it.
Yeah. We can get into some of the really extended range basses, guys like Yves Carbone and some of the others. But you bring up an interesting point. I remember back in the 80s when the 6-string became all the rage with Anthony Jackson, and I was reading about John Patitucci, and he said just pretty much what you just said. He said, I don't know, my 2 fingers there, the pinky and the ring finger, just kind of automatically curl up. And I tried that. To me, it just doesn't feel natural. So, I don't know exactly what I do to try to. I don't play a lot of six string. I have a couple of fives.
Yep.
But even on the fours, you still have to be careful
It's an
about
issue,
muting the strings and not having any unwanted string ring and only hearing the note that you want to hear. Tell the folks a little bit about the lessons that are currently available in your six-string course about technique. What kind of stuff do you cover? I know, but let them know.
On the technique course?
Yeah.
The technique course is basically going across the fingerboard, coming back across the fingerboard. Most of them will be using all 6 of the strings, and the goal is to play like what I just mentioned. You're only hearing the note that you're striking. You're not hearing any other string, any other open string from anywhere. So, and it's very, some of it's scalular exercises, some of it's arpeggio oriented, some of it's chromatic oriented, but it's designed just to get your hands to work together and have a consistent sound and, stay in rhythm.
One advantage, I would say, when you're dealing with keeping the other strings quiet is the fact that you can play more in position and you don't have to do as much up and down the fingerboard. So that's another plus on the six-string bass.
Absolutely. That comes into play. It's funny that you say that because I even to this day, I find myself, even though I have that available to me on the 6, a lot of times the 4 is so ingrained in me that I'll find myself playing as if I've only got the 4. So I'll climb the G string instead of going lower on the C string. The other thing you have to consider is the tone. The thicker string,
yes,
higher up on the G string, is a little fuller, tone and body to the note than it would be down on the C string. So I definitely consider that also. But
you do have six-string bass in your blood. When you use a phrase like "down on the C string," that you're really a six-stringer.
Or up on the B string.
Yeah, there you go. But I was going to say something else about 5-string, 6-string. I don't know. I can't remember what it was, but maybe it'll come back to me. You've got some other stuff not only in the works, but stuff that you've done since our last interview, which I guess was a couple of years ago. You've done, I think, some new recordings and some other stuff. Bring us up to date on what you've been up to.
Yeah, there's a few things I've done recently. One thing I'm really excited about. A husband and wife team. Their thing is called Brumbalon, BRUMBYLON. Some really nice, just rock, sort of R&B-ish original tunes. You can go and check them out, and you'll see what it's all about. They're trying to gear their thing toward writing tunes for people. So you can come and request, can you write a tune for my wedding? Can you write a tune for my, father's retirement or whatever? So, check that out. I've also completed a recording with guitarist Sean England, sort of a blues, older rock kind of stuff. Did a recording called Through the Circle with Jennifer Truesdale, really excellent vocalist here in Boston.
She related to Colin Truesdale? That was somebody that I interviewed once or twice.
I'm not sure.
Maybe it's a common name.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Another one I did with a great multi-instrumentalist, Miles Donahue, played. He had some great players on. He had Alon Millay, who did the tours with Paul Simon, and Steve Hunt played keyboards with Stanley and Alan Holsworth. And Mike Stern on guitar. So I'm really excited about that. So yeah, keeping busy.
Well, that's good. I remembered what
Berklee.
At Berklee. Oh yeah. You moonlight as a professor at Berklee. There was something that kind of caught me, that had me taken aback a little bit. I was talking to some 5-string players, and you would just assume that if somebody plays 5-string that they're going to put on a low B. And that is not as often the case as you would expect. Several of them, it's still the majority, but several of them are opting for the high C instead of the low B on a 5-string. And I'm just wondering if you have a comment on that.
I definitely do have a comment on that. It's funny that you mentioned that because one of the students that we auditioned this morning, entering student auditions, had exactly that. He had a 5-string with a high C on it. So his low string was still the E. First of all, you got to remember what you're playing is bass. So, fine to get up there with the chords and the melodic stuff. That's all great. But I can guarantee you, and you can solidify this for me too, John, is when you go out and gig, people aren't going to expect you to do stuff on the C string most of the time. They're going to expect you to do stuff low. So get that first, and then if you can get that, extra icing on the cake kind of stuff, that's fine. But realize what the role of the instrument that you play is the bottom of the band.
I remember my teacher in Miami, Don Kaufman. He says, soloing, that's a nice thing if there's a place for it, but if you play it when you're not supposed to play it, at the end of the gig, the guy that hired you will say, hey, nice solo, and then he'll never call you again.
Yes, exactly. That's so true. That's so true.
It's all cool. Do it if you want to do it. If you want to be Victor Wooten or Billy Sheehan or Stu Ham, or those guys do plenty downstairs also. So
right. You're
a bass player, play the bass, take care of business. What about the future? Anything else coming up that you want to share or that you know of?
Just the Brumble-On thing that I mentioned is something that we're trying to get gigs and do some more recording and still playing around the area with my friend John Finn, doing a band called The Experts. We just got back from the Tetons out in Jackson Hole.
Oh yeah.
And working on completing the courses for the site and still trying to groove.
When you emailed me and you told me you were out there, I just assumed it was a vacation. You were out there.
No.
Okay.
It was gig and outdoor activities. So okay. Climbing, hiking, whitewater rafting, wow. And gigs thrown in between. We did we played at the Silver Dollar Bar, and then we did the Teton Music Festival, Teton Village Music Festival. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Sounds like a perfect balance. Yep. Well, great. I am excited. I continue to be excited about the 6-string course. You members of For Bass Players Only, if you subscribe to the lessons, be sure to check out the 6-string bass course from Joe Santerre. If that's your thing, if you're not a 6-string player, that's okay too. We've got upright, we've got funk and rock and jazz and all kinds of stuff, including 6-string bass. So check it out. On location at, again, I'll say it again, one of my favorite places, Berklee College of Music in Boston. Thanks for the great weather too, by the way. With our good friend Joe Santerre. You're watching the #1 resource for everything bass. We have over 650 bass player interviews, exclusive one-on-one bass player interviews, and also we are more and more people's favorite site for learning bass online. That is ForBassPlayersOnly.com. I'm John Liebman. Let's play bass.